Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. It's been a while. Sorry, I was so occupied with the transition. It took some time to settle down. Today I'm publishing Shan Sherwan Hussein, a dear friend and my batchmate from Iraq. She's Kurdish and she grew up in a country which was torn with the Iraq and Kurdish conflict during the 1990s. You will understand how serious this conflict was when you watch the video. She's a brilliant woman, has a degree in engineering from the University of Soleimani, MBA from the University of Southern Indiana, and she also recently graduated from the Harvard Kennedy School with a Master in Public Administration. She was awarded the Josephine S. Vernon Award for being an outstanding student in MCMBA. She has worked in international NGOs and is well experienced in the field of communication with refugees and internally displaced people. Gender equality, of course, is close to her heart. I'll let her talk more about herself. And yes, for your convenience, I have split this video into two parts of around 15 minutes. I couldn't make it shorter than that because everything she said seemed so important to me. I couldn't edit or cut it much. It's a really difficult job to edit these videos because it's an autobiography of some amazing person, and every word she says could be a huge source of inspiration for the kids. So I'm letting you decide, letting the viewers decide. Let's welcome Sean.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shan Sherwan Hussein. I am Kurdish from Iraq. I was born in 1989 in a beautiful small city surrounded by mountains called Suleymaniya. It's in the northern. It's a region that belongs to the country of Iraq. I um, I was born to a family of two fighters. Both my parents were freedom fighters, Kurdish freedom fighters against Saddam Hussein's regime at the time. I grew up with so many stories around the war, around their struggles. But what was the most significant part of my childhood was when I was just a toddler. The sanction was put on Iraqi's Saddam Hussein's regime. And as we know, sanctions barely affect the regime, but it always has significant impact on the population and on the people of the country. I was one of those people who got significantly impacted by the sanction. I was malnutritioned, survived on the aid of the UN organizations, and when time for school came, I had a little baby sister joining our family, which made our family of four becoming a family of five. And with the gifts that my sister got for being born, my mom bought me a backpack for school and a few notebooks. And it was going to be a really tough year to go to school, to maintain buying stationaries, but it was a few months. A little bit later, when UNICEF came into the country and started distributing stationaries, backpacks, and doing a lot of awareness raising activities in the schools. So it made schooling a little bit easier, that I did not have to worry as a child if my parents were going to be able to afford buying me notebooks, books, backpacks, and so on. So as I was growing up, we kept hearing about all the memories, all the atrocities of Saddam Hussein's regime. And one of the significant ones was the chemical bombing of Halabja in 1988, where Saddam Hussein poured chemical on the city of Halabja. And during this time, as he was doing this, just to make sure that people were going to die faster, he put the smell of apple in the chemical so people would inhale more and die faster. So at this younger age, we just became so scared of anything that smelled good, that looked beautiful. I remember one day I was playing with my friends in the schoolyard. It was between classes, and I looked up in the sky and I saw this beautiful thing in the sky, but I started to feel terrified. I gathered all my friends. We ran back into our classrooms. We hid under our wooden desks, just waiting for the mercy, what these colors are going to do to us. In my child's mind at the time, I thought these were a trick. These colors were a trick by Saddam Hussein's regime to trick us to look at them so we can die, or it's going to do something to us. So just imagine the first time I remember seeing a rainbow, this was my reaction to it, that this is not a wonder of nature. This is not a joyful thing for me and my friends, but rather there's something that's going to happen to us and we better be prepared and run away from it. And it was amazing that we kept receiving a lot of awareness raising sessions around things that were happening, but to a limit, they became a bit of traumatizing because Saddam Hussein left a lot of landmines behind in the different parts of the country. We were told never to pick up anything shiny from the ground, never to pick up anything that was beautiful on the ground because there might be a mine underneath it and we might either lose a limb or just lose our whole lives to a mine exploding on us. So I remember watching TV in between cartoons. We kept seeing these signs. If it looks like a triangle, an upside triangle with a skull on it, you don't go near that place. Or sometimes they would run out of signs. They would put some rocks on top of each other to just signify there is something dangerous, mines in this place. So we would not go there. So it was a very strange childhood, but I still remember having somewhat a normal childhood, having friends, having fun in the schools. But then we would go home and we would go back to a cold house because we couldn't necessarily afford buying kerosene to light up the fire to keep our house warm. And I remember one day I walked back and I saw my mom had coals light up in the room so it could give us some heat. But then soon we learned that these coals are really dangerous because people could get poisoned from the gas, and it has killed families of 5, 6, 10 when they lighted them in the house. So we had to give that one up as well and just be willing to wear more clothes and and make it through the cold winters of that time. But but then things kind of progressed for the better. The Food for Oil program was introduced in the mid 1990s, and it became a bit easier. We were able to access food. We were able to access some level of kerosene to be able to keep the house warm, and look beyond what keeps us alive. This is the time when I started reading and I got exposed to a lot of different magazines, a lot of different children newspapers that my mother was buying for me so I can learn from them. And as I kept getting older, the materials that I was reading were becoming a bit older as well for my age. And I was introduced by my mother to a newspaper, which was a women only newspaper. It was established, published by women. As I was reading these newspapers, I kept seeing women dying of cleaning a gun. A lot of incidents of women killing themselves while they were cleaning a gun, or our bathrooms, the way they work. We didn't have electricity to heat it, so we would use kerosene to fuel to make heat and warm the water. And a lot of women died when they would fill these little tanks of kerosene so they can heat the water. But again, I was like, it just doesn't make sense. Why do we have so many women dying cleaning guns or fueling kerosene to make the bath ready for the whole family to take a shower? As I was reading these, I realized they're not dying because they're cleaning guns or they're fanatics that they just want to clean guns. This is called honor killing. It means that maybe this woman or this female in the family did something that was not going with the social constructs of that community at the time. They did something that possibly brought dishonor or shame to the family. Therefore, the male in the family members were killing them in the effort to clean the honor of the family and tell the community we had one written person in our family, but we got rid of her. We have cleaned our honor. So that's when I really started to be scared. Like, what about me is so special that I might not end up like them? What about my friends in school is so special that they might not end up like them? So I started to have this level of panic within me, and I started talking to my mother, like, what is the solution? What are we going to do about this? And I remember, and this was a message that was reiterated over and over again from my mom to me: education is the key. And that's when I decided to improve myself, to make sure that I give my education 100%, to prove to my family and to everyone around me that I'm a smart person and I'm not doing anything that is outside of the boundaries of the social construct. And this was the path that I decided to take to empower myself, to protect myself, and to be able to help others and empower others around me. Since I was a very little child, I thought that I wanted to be a doctor. And I think this is something that my mom also wanted for me. Um, because I remember when my mom was pregnant with my little sister, she was craving bananas, and they were really expensive because they were an imported good. They would be so expensive that we weren't able to buy a kilo of banana. And I remember telling her, Mom, don't worry about it. When I get older and I become a doctor, I will buy you 1 kilo of bananas so you can eat it. So I think I'm not quite sure where was the idea of becoming a doctor coming from. Was it from the prestige that I would be receiving or the amount of money that I would be making? But I think that's where it kind of lied. But the system in Iraq, the way it worked, or the way it works to this day, to get into a public school and a public university, your GPA decides where you are placed. We didn't have a say to say, okay, I love medicine, therefore I'm going to apply for medicine. So in my 12th grade of high school, I got 92.4, and this grade was not sufficient enough to put me into a med school. Therefore, I ended up in the civil engineering, or the School of Building and Construction Engineering. I was heartbroken. It was really difficult with, and it was subjects that I was not so comfortable with. For the longest time, I had prepared myself. I was reading my biology journals. I was reading a lot of things biology related because I was kind of sure I'm going to get into med school. Well, that did not happen, and I was not so happy with the outcome. So I ended up in School of Civil Engineering, and that was really tough to deal with. It was a lot of math that I had not prepared myself for, because since I was teenager, I was reading more of the biology journals, med school related materials. I wasn't preparing myself for the School of Engineering, but I ended up going through it, and just to make it through, I had to study really hard. I was sleeping 3 hours a night, just to be able to make sure that I can pass, because I never start something that I don't finish. I make sure that whatever it is I start, I finish it and I go through with it. So when I was a junior in college, I just walked in into an English session around American English language, how to learn American English. I stayed for a while. I signed up something. And it was an attendance. I signed my attendance. I gave my email address, and 6 months after that event that I attended, I got an email. It said there is an exchange program happening. Sign up for it. It takes students to the U.S. for 6 weeks. And me being from Iraq, it's all about connections. If you don't have the right connections, you never make it to the right space. I was like, this is, I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna get in, but let me just go ahead and apply, because I always take shots, even though if I know I don't have a chance to make it through. I applied. There were two different exchange programs. I applied for both of them, and surprise, surprise, I got accepted into both of them. And they called me. They said, "You need to choose one of us. You can't go on both programs because they're happening at the same time." And I made a split-second decision, and I chose the Iraqi Young Leaders Exchange Program that was sponsored by World Learning, or managed by World Learning organization based out of Washington, D.C. So surprisingly, this split second decision opened so many other doors afterwards for me, because after the 6 weeks, I came back to Iraq, finished my civil engineering, graduated from the school finally. And they sent us the University of Southern Indiana that we were sent to do 4 weeks of leadership programming. They said, hey guys, we have made sure that we have enough money for 2 scholarships. Why don't you apply and come back to study whatever you want to study? Like, wow, this is amazing. Let me give this a try. So I applied for one of the scholarships and I got one of the scholarships, and I ended up going back to University of Southern Indiana. During the exchange program that happened over the summer, I learned that I really loved something that is called social work and the impact that you will have on people. So I decided this is how I wanted to do it. I wanted to study social work and take the route of social services and getting into this line of work around social work. But when I did my first semester, I realized the skills that they needed were not really matching my personality. So I decided to change my major into economics, because over my life, I had seen so many women not being able to leave abusive relationships because of their economical situations, because of their financial situations, that they weren't able to sustain themselves and their children if they got out of the relationship or if they asked for divorce. So that was the main idea behind why I wanted to do economics rather than social work. I have a lot of respect for social work. They do bring a lot of impact to people's lives. Unfortunately, I did not see myself to be the best fit to be impactful in this sphere, so I kind of shifted into the economic side of things. And I got my bachelor's in economics, and I also got my master's of business administration simultaneously at the same time. I was approaching both degrees and graduated in 2015 from University of Southern Indiana.